Thank you, Pia. Again, I just want to say welcome to tonight's webinar hosted by the Women in Medicine section at MSDC and sponsored by our partners at Merrill Lynch. It's a physician, the Women in Medicine section is a physician-led and is dedicated to address the needs of women in medicine. We are hoping that as part of our initiatives this year is to bring about resources to help women physicians better balance our work and life, and this fits perfectly into that concept. With that, since its inception, the section has hosted a wide range of in-person and virtual events to further its cause. These span the topics of imposter syndrome or pandemic parenting to tonight's topic, women and wealth, your financial journey, plus Q&A. Afterwards, we will have a business section meeting, including leadership opportunities and plans for 2022. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our presenters, Mo, Tanya, and John from Merrill Lynch. Please take it away. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Casaraneni. Very happy to be here. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Mo Ilhag, and I am a financial advisor with the Hasenberg Hartzog Group at Merrill. And I'm also very excited to introduce my partners, John and Tania. And we're so pleased to be able to talk to you today about how we might work together to help you address your most important financial priorities and make more informed wealth management decisions. But before we dive into the presentation, I want to pass it on to John, just to introduce our team and say a few words and talk about how we help our clients.
Mo, and thanks everyone for being here. These are our all-important disclosures, which we will not expect you to read, but we have to put them up there. Okay, now everyone's read them. We can move. So what we're talking about tonight, what we talk about all day, every day, pretty much, is three key financial questions. And this is a unique approach of our team. As you can see, we are an 8-person team, so you have almost half of us here tonight. We are, you also may know, a diverse team by age and race and gender, and extremely important to us. So our team is half male, half female. I have been partnered, so the woman sitting next to me in that photograph, Nancy Hartzog, actually a former hospital COO who came to the financial world as a second career. Nancy and I worked together for more than 12 years. We've been building this team over time. And interestingly, we are extremely committed to working with medical professionals. And today, about half of our team, half of our clients that we serve are somewhat related to medicine. So they may be dentists, doctors, in some cases, patients of our clients who have been referred to us even. We have a big focus on medical. And for all of our clients, then we're answering these three key questions, and this is what we're going to steer towards tonight. So if you just plant these in the back of your mind, a couple of ideas. 1, am I going to make it? 2, what are my blind spots? 3, what will my legacy be? And we have found that these questions apply on some level to just about everybody, and even more specifically for people in the medical arena. So am I going to make it? Things like, can I retire? Can I send kids to college? Run your own practice? Do you have an up-to-date retirement plan? And all that comes down to really building a financial plan, starting at the beginning and saying, okay, I really need to get a handle on all of these different aspects of my life. The next part, what are my blind spots? By definition, these are things that you are not paying attention to because you are busy taking care of your patients, taking care of your families, what have you. And so the things that may occur both in the financial world and then also just in life. If you are injured, if there's a tragedy, the people that rely on you have you provided for them? Are they going to be okay? On the investment side, it's about risk. We've been through obviously a crazy couple of years, looking back at how markets performed last March. And honestly, nobody was prepared for that, but doing everything you can to be positioned so that if something like that does occur again, that you are not necessarily getting hammered the way everybody else is, trying to have protections in place. And the last part is dealing with legacy. So again, if you're a physician, you own a practice, are you going to be able to sell that practice? Is the practice going to live on after you? And then on a more personal side, what can you be doing for future generations, for charity, and always keeping in mind, of course, tax and other interesting estate planning concepts. It's impossible in the Washington region to not have heard all of the noise and all the talk about what changes may occur. Very difficult to keep up with. And that's where we bring in other professionals. We don't try to do everything, but we are well networked and make it a point for all of our clients to meet with their attorney and their accountant also to make sure that you have a team in place and that, again, you're answering all of these questions. So couple other things. So as you see, we're a team of 8. We're run out of the Washington, D.C. office of Merrill Lynch. We manage a little bit over $500 million in client assets, and we are licensed in about 30 different states. And obviously we're maybe not obviously, but to be clear, we're certainly available and interested in meeting folks from your organization, and always happy to answer questions tonight. And also if we want to have individual consultations, we're certainly interested in and look forward to having those opportunities. So with that, I will turn it back to Mo, and thank you all again for being with us tonight.
Thank you, John, for the discussion or the introduction. I want to let everyone know that we want to make this more of a conversation than just a presentation. You know, we don't want to just be reading off bullet points on the slides. So if you please feel free to interject, to ask questions, or make comments. So now I'm happy to pass it on to Tania.
Thanks so much, Mo, and greetings, everyone. I'm so delighted to be a part of this conversation today. So you guys can see that the title of the presentation is really Your Financial Journey. And I want to give you a little bit of background about how I got to Merrill and the team. So I actually came back to the investments industry after an 18-year career in media. And I had started my career actually as an equity research analyst on Wall Street, and then had a great media career. And something was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to get back to the investments industry. And so I specifically came back because I'm really passionate about helping women. And so when I got to Merrill and I saw that we had done just this tremendous amount of research and put out a white paper on how our journey is different, I was so excited. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So tonight, I think what we wanted to really try to do and what we have prepared for today is highlight, and because I think it's a really good background to highlight how our journey is different kind of financially. And then we'll also spend some time highlighting just and providing some tips on how we as women can really better manage the journey. And so Mo and I will go.
I told my goals that, okay, symptoms of abnormal.
Mo and I will go back and forth with the slides, but our goal was really to assist everyone on the call in their actual journey. So I'm going to start on Mo, can you go to slide 4? Perfect. So I think this is a really good level set slide in that, as women, my mom is college educated, but her career has been far different than mine. And I think it's a testament to the tremendous amount of opportunities women do have today. And so, the research shows that we're earning degrees, we're getting better jobs, we're starting a tremendous amount of businesses. And even out of the pandemic, there's a lot of new business generation. I had a media career, so I know for a fact that we make the purchases decisions in a household, and most of media is therefore geared towards women. And one of the most important things that relates to our financial planning is this whole concept is that we do live longer, and there's a lot of research and statistics on that. So Mo, next slide. So on the issue of kind of job creation and earning more degrees, The big point on this slide is if you look across all categories of bachelor's degrees or master's degrees or doctoral degrees, we are earning the majority of degrees. And I find that just fascinating myself. But it shows that because we're earning more degrees, we're certainly earning more income. And we therefore have a lot more resources that we have to manage. Next slide, Well. The research also proves out that while we are not yet 50% of the workforce, more than half of us are employed in these managerial type positions. And so that means that we are, as I said before, earning more, but we have a lot more responsibility in these careers, which I'm sure, as you all know, creates a lot of they're not calling it work-life balance now. I think it's called equality or something. But the point is that we have a lot of responsibilities with, in your case, your practice, in managing your families. And so that is creating a really unique situation for women and how we need to manage our finances. Next slide, Mel. So I spent some time on the business growth. I actually have a friend that is she's on the board of the National Women's Business Council. So I hear a lot about kind of women and new business creation. So the statistics are saying that if we look at all the business that women own and we've started, that if we were a country, we produce the 5th largest GDP in the world. So our business, that aggregate revenue, is about the 5th largest GDP. So let's just kind of let that sink in a little bit. That is so fascinating to me. So it's a real testament to the economic power we have. And I think the economic and job creation that we're providing in the market, and particularly in the US. And we're also outpacing men in terms of that new business creation. Next slide, Mo. This slide, one more slide, Mo, because I feel like we talked about that one. Yep. Okay, perfect. So with respect to all of that success, one of the things that we really want to be mindful of is also, though, we live a lot longer than men. And the stats show that in the case where we live to age 65, we're likely to live another 22 more years. But in general, women outlive men by 5 years, according to US statistics. Next slide. This slide, I just want us to, I think it's a beautiful mapping slide, but I think the more important thing about this slide is I just want us to take a pause and a moment to just look at what the slide is saying about the financial journey. I talked about earnings, I've talked about relationships, I've talked about family. There's also something around suddenly being single, right? If you were married and you got divorced or you suddenly were widowed, that really differentiates our financial journey and how we need to plan for it. Another big theme that many women in our practice face, and I actually have a lot of single women in my practice, and many women are often thinking about caregiving for themselves. Like, how do I prepare if I've never been married? And then we also know that many women elect to come out of the workforce for caregiving, either for their families in the early part of the family stages, and sometimes later in their careers to care for aging parents. So that creates a really different financial journey in terms of how do I prepare for probably the fact that I'll have less time in the workforce, right? So because I have less years in the workforce, I really need to maximize my resources and my income while I'm earning it. And then this whole thing that we talked about in terms of longevity around, we live longer. So because we live longer, we're likely to be living in our later stages alone or by ourselves. And so what does that look like? And how do we kind of prepare for that journey? Next slide, Mom. So one of the things I think was really differentiated about, I think, our practice approach is we really try to get to know our clients and really understanding what's important to them, because it really is different for every single client. I will find that I've found that I have incredible joy or get incredible joy from really helping women because our journey is so different. And many of the people and clients that we encounter, they're nurturing children, they're thinking about their financial security. As John mentioned, they're thinking about, how do I leave a legacy? How do I plan for retirement? And particularly, how do I plan for retirement in the medical community when sometimes I'm a self-employed person, right? And I'm managing a practice, which has a whole other set of resources. Next slide, Mom. So I want to spend some time in talking about something I think that we've all heard about, which is the wage gap between women and men in the United States. And so according to the statistics, today, women earn about 80 cents for every dollar earned by men. But if you stretch that out from the beginning of our careers to the end of our careers, it's estimated that leaves us with a $300,000 shortfall. To me, that's a lot of money just generally. But if you think about if that money were invested in the compounding of that, it's actually a lot more money, a lot more that's left on the table because of the salary differential. And so because of that, we do really need to think, I think, critically and strategically of how we plan for the various financial goals that we have. Next slide, Bo. So on earnings and career, we found that one of the things that we really find is helpful to women is really to get focused on the earnings component of the planning. And so in our conversations with clients, we're talking about salary, we're talking about what do we want to do with commissions and bonuses. We also help clients navigate through their health and other insurance plans, to think about when they want to defer their income or savings and retirement plans and pensions. These are all things that revolve around our career, but things that we as a practice really seek to help our clients with. And in particularly, I've found that it's a really important conversation with the women clients that we have. And so, next slide, Bo. So I think intellectually, one more slide. Okay, intellectually, I think we all know it's really important to accumulate our assets and to live the lives that we want to live. But some things that we also want to consider when we're thinking about that is what are our employers offering? One of the things that we like to address first is what are you participating in your company's 401k or any other retirement plans? Are you maximizing your IRA contributions? We help our clients to select the various investment options that are available to them. So those are some really important and key things to think about in that retirement journey. So I'm going to now take a pause to see if there's any questions before I hand off to Mo. So if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I go by the model of AAA on questions. All are awesome. No questions yet? Okay, well, Mo, I'm gonna hand the baton to you.
Thank you, Tania. And I just want to share, for me personally, this is exciting. To be talking to all of you today. I mean, I myself, I'm the oldest of 5 sisters, so it's very personal to me, as you can imagine. So for many, getting married is quite a joyous event. But many people, both men and women, don't think about the financial implications of tying the knot. So it's extremely important to take the time to discuss your and your future spouse's, individual finances or financial picture, things like assets, debt, and goals for the future. So it may not seem like the most romantic activity, but it's an important first step towards building a financial future together. So being on the same page, about family's financials can help contribute to marital bliss. So if you, your children, your grandchildren, or even a parent are getting married, we'd be happy to have a conversation about all the things that you might want to consider, to help you or to help them prepare financially. So, Merrill Lynch and Age Wave, they've spent a lot of money, a lot of time doing this research, and it's very interesting that to me that money and marriage may be more closely related than you think. Incompatible financial goals can be a leading cause of relationship stress. So in fact, 73% of people have different money management styles than their spouses. So it's important. That's why it's important to start off on the right foot and commit to managing finances together going forward. But don't expect to see eye to eye on money matters immediately. Women tend to understand the importance of talking about the subject matter better than men do. Here are just a few of the common sense tips that we can discuss together that could make a significant difference. Making sure each spouse is actively involved in making financial decisions, not spending more on housing than you can afford, keeping any debt to affordable levels, and paying close attention to finances and seeking to balance short-term and long-term goals. So for example, it's one thing to talk about college funding for children, but what about taking a step back and asking yourselves about your views and expectations on fully footing the college bill or having a child contribute? These kind of discussions are, where we as financial advisors can help you explore, the different angles. Another example is, while not most pleasant, it's not the most pleasant to consider, but it's, what may happen when your spouse passes away, right? The death of a spouse can be a traumatic experience that would not just have an emotional impact, but also a financial impact, for you and your family. So becoming the sole financial decision maker is the top financial challenge for widows. So planning ahead for this eventuality may help ease some of the stress for your loved ones in the future. So many women are on their own, paving their, as Tania mentioned, paving their own paths, doing their own, on their own terms, and loving every minute of it. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, as of 2016, there are nearly 111 million unmarried people in the U.S. over the age of 18, and that number represents 45% of all U.S. residents ages 18 and up, and 53 of that unmarried population were women in 2016. So that translates to, and I'm throwing a lot of numbers, but translates to about 58 million single women in the U.S. So for millions of women, marriage may not be part of your life journey, or perhaps maybe only for a piece of your journey. So, for women who may not have a partner, that likely, puts many financial responsibilities on their shoulders. So it may be especially important to explore options like long-term care policy, to help you ensure that you have the caregiving services, you need as you age. So, if you have children, it could be important to take advantage of 529 college savings plan to fund college expenses, especially if you're the only sole household income provider. Also, and this is very important, and we don't hear this from our clients when we ask them about estate planning. We ask a lot of our clients when we first engage with them is do you have an estate plan? And most of the answers we get is a no. So having a robust estate plan and legal directives, helps you ensure your assets are distributed as you desire, and the right people have the right authorities. And the key is to help you prepare for your financial future, given your personal circumstances, and to make sure your wealth plan lines up with your goals and priorities. So we also know that more and more women are delaying having children, or are creating families in different ways, or deciding not to have children at all. So, motherhood may or may not be a part of your journey, and as we've been saying, but each path comes with varying financial implications. So, for example, for those thinking about starting a family, it's important to consider the 529 college account. Finding a home in a good school district, thinking about, what taking time away from work might mean. For those who are thinking about starting a family and considering, adoption, surrogacy, it's important to consider the expenses of each avenue. And for those who are soon to be empty nesters, it's been kind of, it's been the norm over the past, with millennials, especially over the past decade or so, moving back, living with their parents for a short period of time as they pay off, a student debt or saving money for a house or what have you. So, it's important to have that discussion, set the expectations with your children about the financial support, in college or even early adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision to start a family is a deeply personal one, obviously, for you. So the point is we can help you think through the financial impacts of these decisions and the various choices that you're faced with as your kids, grow and your life changes. So I'd like to, pause for a few seconds and see if there's, any questions out there before I pass it back to Tania. All right, Tania, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Mo. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to spend a little more time in talking about this journey that many women take, which is a journey around motherhood. And so full transparency, I'm a single woman and I don't have any children, but all of my friends do. So I kind of know what that journey is. And one of the things I find really fascinating, and I've seen these reports on, morning news shows, but one of the most interesting things about motherhood is that in the US it's estimated that it takes about $233,000 to raise a child to age 17. And that doesn't even include getting a child through college. So as Mo said, many of our clients, in terms of building a robust financial plan, are not only asking for advice on their retirement, but also on funding college education. We do a lot with clients in our 529 plans, help them develop a strategy around that, helping them to think about what are the best kind of tools in terms of investment products that might be more specific to their situation. And another thing I thought was really interesting to find out is that we know that about 40% of our household in the US are with children under 18 or led by single women. And so that's kind of a double burden on women and really creating a need for really dynamic, I think, and goals-based financial planning. Next slide, Mo. So Mo had talked a little bit about kind of the considerations for women in terms of their career and things to think about. But one of the things that some of the wave age research showed is that women often elect to leave the workforce for a temporary period of time for many reasons. One of the first times a woman might consider doing that is around becoming a new mother. And so we believe that if a woman decides that she wants to make that journey or make that decision, we can also help you to become financially prepared for that. So some of the things we help women to think through and consider are your short-term and long-term budget. For example, I've had a number of friends that knew they wanted to start a family, so they really accelerated their savings because they knew they might be out of the workplace for kind of 6 to 9 months. And really wanted to be able to enjoy the time bonding with their child and not being worried about the financial impacts of that. I've had some other friends that have stepped out of the workforce and they really focus on keeping their skills really solid, particularly women in technology or careers where they could do kind of online training. They really work to do that. And some other things you might want to consider is some of your less traditional, in terms of cost, less traditional childcare options. I know daycare is a huge cost and a budget. We're very fortunate to work at Bank of America, Mo and I, which has a lot of benefits for childcare that are kind of tax deferred benefits. But these are all considerations when we're working, particularly with women, on financial planning that we take into consideration. And we spend a lot of times, if needed, on budget and trying to figure out where some of the expenses are and how we can best kind of plan for those. Next slide, Mo. So this is caregiving is one of the things that is near and dear to my heart because I'm an only child. And I know at some point I will be taking care of two parents as they get older. And so when they're not thinking about it, I'm thinking about it. But I say that to say it is something that we know is an important financial goal consideration to plan for. It's actually something that specifically we isolate as a goal. So it's different from retirement, but it might be around long-term care or caregiving, what your plans are. And the reason that it's an important conversation is because we know that when clients don't prepare for it, those unexpected long-term care costs can derail your retirement plan or can derail your long-term legacy, because you could be forced to take withdrawals, to pay for certain things, or homebound care. Whereas if we had if we work earlier to plan for those, that's a hit that you can manage and that you can be prepared for. So that's why we really spend a lot of time, and I think the industry spends a lot of time on caregiving as well. And then the most important thing around this, we know that for the most part, 66% of the caregivers are women. It's the women that's electing to take on that role when it's needed. Next slide, Mo. So on the caregiving side, I just want to end this conversation about caregiving. We know that women are 3 times more likely to retire even early to become a caregiver. And the statistics suggest that when we make those decisions, on average, we lose about $324,000 in our lifetime earnings. So again, there's a double whammy there of earnings lost by leaving the workforce for in the early part of starting a family, and then sometimes again choosing to leave the workforce in the later part of the career as your parents are aging or there's a caregiving situation. All of those things we think are things that one can plan for. We like to help our clients to do those things, but we are highlighting it because it is really something that we find can derail finances, and that we really want to help clients to prepare for those things. Next slide, Mo. So the suddenly single, this is not always an easy conversation, but we do know that sometimes women have different phases of their life. Sometimes they are married, sometimes they are divorced or suddenly single because of a divorce or because they are widowed. And that is in our industry, there are actually certain certifications that one can have. And one of the things that our practice has experienced in helping women through is divorce and planning for divorce or navigating that situation to make sure that you come out of that with the best financial solution or resolution for you. Case, an example is, in a negotiation, you could be negotiating whether to leave the relationship with the home or with the pension plan. And so we would advise on what's kind of the best position for you and best decision for you. Just an example of how we're able to help women in those situations. And so this is kind of the last slide I think I'm going to present in the presentation. I want to pause and see if anyone has any questions that either Mo or I could address, and then I will toss it back to Mo. Nothing in the chat? Okay, Mo, I think you're up.
Thank you, Tania. So, some of the advances that, we've looked at are the results of societal change. Others are simply biological. Women bear children and women are more likely to live longer. So, we're in the midst of a longevity revolution, and it's transforming how we think about living, aging, working, and retiring. So think about this. Couples in the 1850s weren't asking themselves, what are we gonna do in retirement, right? It was only with the extraordinary 20th century breakthroughs in public health, sanitation, antibiotics, anesthesiology. I mean, you all know about this, and that we can begin to talk about living longer. So, we're spending a little more time on this because living longer is generally uniquely meaningful for women, and women have, even longer lifespans than men. In fact, at age 65, women can expect to live an average of, almost 22 more years than men, who live an average of 19 and a half more years. So, women also tend to outlive their spouses, and, almost half of, 46% of widows say that they were their spouse's primary caregiver, which means that, they need to plan for expenses, to take care of their loved one. and also for living alone in the future. The bottom line is that more money may be required to achieve the same standard of living in retirement, and the money will have to last longer. With that in mind, there are some important considerations. And the whole concept of retirement has changed, dramatically over the last couple of decades. Now more than at any other times in our history, retirement represents an opportunity. You might start a new career, go back to school, take time to travel and explore, start a hobby, volunteer, or spend more time with family and friends, or some combinations that's based on you and your unique priorities. And navigating the new retirement means setting your own course to and through retirement. So exactly what does that new retirement mean financially? How do you fund your future? Consider this, the sobering fact that the median retirement income for women is only 58% of the median retirement income for men, and this is according to an AgeWave's estimate back in 2018. One strategy that makes sense for many is to start saving earlier. As we can see here in the slide, we show an example of the case of Olivia, Jane, and Sarah. So Olivia, she's putting $250 a month into a retirement account. She started at age 25. Jane started saving $250 per month, but she started a decade later at age 35. And Sarah even started at age 45. So all three continue to add the same amount until they retire at age 65. But accumulated savings vary dramatically depending on when each started saving for retirement. So take for example Olivia. She will have nearly $300,000 in retirement savings. Jane will have about half of that amount, and Sarah about 1/4 of that. So you can see how Olivia is far better, in terms of financially, she's far better off than Jane or Sarah, saving for retirement. So as this example demonstrates, saving earlier can be a valuable way to increase your chances of having enough money to last, through your retirement years. But we also understand that for doctors, you spend quite a bit of a time going through medical school and training, and if you're specializing, you're going more into more schooling and more training. So doctors tend to start saving a little bit earlier, but a little bit later, but there are ways where we can show you how you can use your income to save in a tax efficient way and put money away for retirement. Also, if you have student debt, we can also talk about how how to prioritize or which one to tackle first. There's a lot of questions we get. So just remember that this is also a hypothetical example. It's only meant for illustrative purposes only. So it doesn't reflect any specific strategy, but feel free to reach out to us individually, and we can talk to you about creating your financial path. So as we said earlier, estate planning is an important part of your overall financial approach. Whether you're married or single, and what a lot of the questions we get is, what exactly is an estate plan? It's not something that's talked about every day. It's a plan that prepares for the transfer of your wealth and assets upon your death. Most people, when they think about estate plan, they think about like the Bill Gates or the Warren Buffett families, those with generational wealth. No, it's actually everyone needs an estate plan. It covers everything from investments, life insurance, real estate, to cars, and other personal belongings. And because women tend to live longer than men, it's important that you have the tools, the knowledge and authority to implement an estate plan should you need to. So, so if you and your spouse don't have an estate plan yet, there are some practical steps to get started. First thing you want to do is, contact your attorney, to help you get started. We as financial advisors cannot establish estate plans or offer estate planning advice or guidance for obvious reasons, but also this is not our expertise. But but your advisor can help. They can work with your attorney to help align your investment approach with your estate plan. Establishing a trust in case of your incapacity or that of your spouse. Consider using a power of attorney to appoint an agent for financial matters. And if you're married, make sure that you review and understand the estate plan and what happens if your spouse passes away before you do. These are very, sometimes can be very hard conversations to have, but it's a must-have. And I'm sure you'll, of all people we talk to, doctors know this best because you see that firsthand. So you just never know what tomorrow will bring, and it's far better to have a plan in place. So preparation is critical. Whether you're creating your own plan or become the beneficiary of your spouse's plan. So in our study, Women and Financial Wellness Beyond the Bottom Line, we found that all women wish they had more education around money and finances, especially with women of color. Just going to share these statistics. 43% of that are Asian women, 42% Latina women, and 41% African American, compared to 28% of Caucasian women. But our world is changing. We're living in an environment filled with energy and passion, contributing to exciting advances for women. One thing that you can do for your financial health is to take control, to own it. The power of knowledge, planning and preparation can help you feel informed and excited about, wherever your journey takes you. And we've seen women, progress and experience phenomenal growth that will continue to carry forward into their financial lives. We have these discussions with our clients every single day. This is a lot of what we do. Most people would think that we're stock pickers or portfolio managers, but in fact, no. We rely on our chief investment office to provide us with the resources, and our job is to talk to our clients to understand them better, to understand their goals, what are their priorities, concerns, and we just we bring all of that together into the financial plan, and just help you make sense of everything. And we're so in another way, we're more than just financial advisors. Sometimes it feels like we could be we can also be coaches, financial coaches, therapists, you name it. We guide our clients through all these ebbs and flows of the market. So we help clients take the emotions out of things. So every woman has unique questions and concerns when it comes to their finances. So for example, a large majority of women on the report say that their biggest financial regret is not investing more. And the second largest financial regret is not choosing a career with higher pay.
Mm-hmm.
So our job as advisors is to help you pursue your individual goals now and as you head into retirement, regardless of your current situation, right? Our job and what we do best is take your accumulated assets and give you take a snapshot of what it is now, and then we extrapolate that over the next 20-30 years and play around with the scenarios and see what could be the best, alternatives. Eventually, this is something that we look at on an annual basis with our clients. And then, eventually over time, you'll start to see a balance, right? The first things that we, like as John mentioned earlier, the 3 questions that we ask our clients are, am I going to make it? So, that is one of the very first questions we tackle, and we do that again. We're using the resources that you have, and using our sophisticated tools, and make sure that we come to you with the right advice, and our best advice, and the recommendations or the solutions for you. A key benefit of working with Merrill, again, like I mentioned, is our goals-based wealth management approach. It helps ensure that we have a clear understanding of what you want to achieve. We'll support you in making informed decisions when trade-offs are necessary, and on selecting an appropriate mix of products to help achieve your goals. So, and then we'll measure the progress. Every year we'll have our annual reviews. We'll measure that. We'll measure your progress based, by matching it to your goals. We not measure using investments against the benchmark, right? Like what is the S&P 500 is doing, and how am I doing compared to the S&P 500? But that is not our approach, And the reality is that our lives are often interconnected, with our finances. So, getting to know you is an important part of our commitment, to putting your needs and priorities first. So we've covered a lot of information today. To summarize, your life isn't a straight line. It's a journey, and your experiences on that journey have financial impacts. So, it's important to plan and prepare along the way, and working together, we can, consider all aspects of your life to help you achieve your financial goals, whatever your priorities are. Hopefully the information we covered will prompt you to think about your own financial journey. Whether you're just starting your career as a doctor, or you're mid-career, or even just a few years away from retiring. We want to leave you with three practical takeaways that you can act on as soon as you leave this evening. So one is to make a list of your top priorities and your goals, financial and otherwise. And the next thing you want is have a conversation with your financial advisor about these goals and priorities, and then establish a routine to check in with yourself and your advisor, of course, and see how you're progressing towards your goals. Hope you found this material interesting, empowering, thought-provoking. It's important to us that you're well informed for what life can bring. We're happy to speak with you individually now or in the days to come. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know I just want to see if there are any other questions. You actually asked and answered a number of questions that I was about to interject and ask. So I think that you